Miami? You been having a good time?
Well, I got to tell a story about Miami. So,
okay.
All right. So, I mean, I think this place is paradise. You know, first of all, the weather is just perfect this time of year. San Francisco was miserable. It was like rainy and cold. We come here and it's like mid-70s all week. And of course, you're not stepping over hypodermic needles or feces, or you're not worried about being randomly assaulted by a homeless drug addict having a psychotic break. Just for starters, right? So, we've been like talking all week. We've been talking all week.
That's just in your house.
Right.
That's just in the mausoleum before you
That's
get
just
up.
going to Starbucks.
Yeah, that's just going to Starbucks, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're having this conversation about should we just move here full time, and it's a heart-wrenching or gut-wrenching decision because the kids have schools and friends, and we've been in California a long time, and so here we are wringing our hands about whether to make this move. And all of a sudden, I read online that Nancy Pelosi just spent $25 million buying her a retirement house for when she loses the House in 2022. Presumably, she'll retire as Speaker, in January 23 when she's not Speaker anymore.
She's going to move to Santa Barbara?
Yeah, she's moving to Florida. She bought a place in Jupiter.
No, it wasn't true. It was.
I know it turned out to be fake news. Well, I question that. I think it was true, and then she didn't like the bad press, so they bailed out of that deal. Well, we won't really know what's true until January of 2023, where we see where she retires to. But anyway, so I'm reading this article, and it says she's buying a house. It's where Tiger Woods lives, and actually it's like half an hour. It's half an hour from where Donald Trump is. So here she is, buying this house, probably with ill-gotten insider trading profits, and she's going to live.
She's the best trader in the Senate.
Unbelievable trader
in the world.
Of all of our government officials, she's got the best inside information.
And she's planning to retire to a community of people she's demonized. I mean, starting with like Trump and then Tiger Woods, and so she's going to be living in this community of people who she's been moralizing against and demonizing against as the Speaker of the House. And meanwhile, the rest of us are wringing our hands about whether we should stay in San Francisco, the city, the dystopian city that she's the political boss of, that her political machine is running to the ground. And I'm looking at this going like, oh, no, you don't. You're not leaving me holding the bag for this. If you're going to Florida, I'm definitely going to
You can turn the
Florida.
lights out, Sachs.
Just leave me holding the bag. I'm like the last one in San Francisco. I'm turning out the lights.
So did that tip the scale for you?
I'm definitely out of here. I'm like, if the boss of San Francisco is out of here, I'm definitely out of here. But I have some people, some other people that convince.
In fairness to Nancy Pelosi, she's sitting on a ton of equities, and she doesn't want to pay cap gains in California. So you got to be fair to her. It's not like she wants to pay for the ridiculous spending in California when she does, cash out all those chips.
And one difference between Florida or Miami in particular and California and San Francisco in particular is nobody hates money or success over here. They are happy for, all these rich people to come in and spend their money. They really believe in capitalism over here. You've got this huge Cuban immigrant population who had direct experience with socialism, and Argentinians and people from South America. And I mean, they teach their kids in schools the evils of socialism. So yeah, nobody here is looking to purge the rich.
That's nice.
It's funny, Sachs, because the Bay Area, right? The Bay Area has a huge South Asian population, right? And a huge immigrant population. Why is that not the case in California, right? Why is this huge immigrant population, whether they come from South America, Latin America, or they come from South Asia, India, China, do we not have the same sort of response here for pushback against socialist tendencies and the push for
the big
capitalism and
difference,
entrepreneurism? Yeah.
The big difference in South Florida is that those immigrant communities were politically active and got really ingrained in the political process, and so they were allowed voice. Systemically, what happens in South Asian families is we just don't do that. It's just not a thing. And in fact, if you look inside of our countries, the politicians are just the absolute sketchiest, most brutal folks. And so, when you have people that got, double E degrees from IIT, the last thing that they're thinking is like, I want to run for mayor of Santa Clara. That doesn't happen. So it's just a big cultural distinction between the Chinese and South Asian populations versus the South American population.
I have to say, San Francisco has become truly dystopian. I went to San Francisco to see a comedy show. Hassan Minhaj, who is a big fan of this pod, he is an incredible show, by the way.
He's fabulous.
He's amazing. And he did a show about MBS and him getting into it with the Kingdom and Patriot Act, his show. It was one of the most powerful like one-man shows I've seen. It kind of transcends comedy. But I took Sonny, our friend Sonny, and we had a great time. But we walked through Union Square because we wanted to get like a drink. We walked through Union Square, and it was cordoned off with cop cars at every intersection. There's no cars in the street. And I was like, what's going on? Is there some police activity? And I was like, they're like, no, the Louis Vuitton store got knocked off. I kid you not. Every single store has had every single window boarded up like it's a hurricane season, but they all did them in pitch black. So it must have been like one vendor came and did this for every vendor. But like Zara, The Gap, Nike, every single storefront has been boarded up. And then there are security guards outside, and you have to make an appointment to go Christmas shopping. And literally, they have road blockades of multiple cars at every intersection because these smash and grabs have become so brazen and dangerous. There were 30 or 40 people involved in that one at the Louis Vuitton store. Can you imagine you're shopping for Christmas and 40 people run through the windows?
This is the logical result of everything I've been warning about since the beginning of the year. You have prosecutors like Chesa Boudin who have essentially decriminalized theft by refusing to prosecute it. After the Louis Vuitton looting, he comes out there and says, well, don't bring this noise from out of town. That's what he calls crime, is noise. And he's trying to pretend like it didn't arise in San Francisco, like somehow it's come from out of town. No, you created it by refusing to prosecute these types of crimes. And then after talking tough, the first thing he did, he already released. The police actually caught some of these looters of the LVMH. He has already released them on zero bail. Exactly. The jail is a revolving door. They have zero bail. And so the people who did this are already out on bail. Chesa talks tough when he charges them, but the charges are never actually brought. They're put down, thrown out, and it is dystopian.
And we couldn't find a place to have a drink. Every single bar was. We tried to have like a post, comedy show drink. And by the way, Hassan's a huge fan of the pod. We talked for an hour at the show. He brought us backstage. It was really, really class act. And we should have him on the pod at some point. Do we want to talk about Jack leaving Twitter?
Well, there's a segue here. I mean, Chamath mentioned that. You have these immigrant minorities from South Asia, I'd say Indian Americans, Chinese Americans. They've been spectacularly successful in the United States. Maybe they haven't been as politically active as, say, the Cuban Americans or Argentinian Americans in Florida, but they've been incredibly successful. You had another example of that this week with Jack leaving Twitter. His replacement is Parag Agarwal. He's an Indian American. So you now have, Indian immigrants, I guess first or second generation, running Google with Sundar, Satya Nadella at Microsoft, the CEO of Adobe, Shantanu Narayan, the CEOs of MasterCard, Nokia, NAP, and IBM, all Indian Americans. So there's no question that people of color can be spectacularly successful in the United States, and I think those communities are too...
Don't mess with the Browns!
Hold on, those communities are so busy availing themselves of the abundant opportunities for success in this country that they haven't been basically involved in politics because they haven't been complaining about anything. They've just been succeeding.
Too busy winning. Yeah, I think there's a viral joke. You live if you're a CEO in Silicon Valley, you live long enough to see yourself replaced by an Indian CEO. That trended.
Hallelujah.
Like, look, you have Satya, Sundar. There's like 4 or 5 other examples, but it's now just absolutely a great triumph. It's amazing for our society that a lot of people who are immigrants or sons of immigrants come here and run the largest, most dynamic, important companies in the world. This is an incredible win, and we have to reboot immigration in this country. I believe in this very strongly, that we need to get more intelligent people here. And if you come here for your degree, we need to staple a green card to your degree when you come up and pick it up on stage at Stanford or Harvard or whatever, community college. You should stay here and build companies here. We have to really open that up. That was one of the huge failings of the Trump presidency, and now going into Biden, who doesn't seem to care about immigration either. Both of these people is huge fails. Both parties do not want to bring intelligent people here.